Hello, this is going to be a video just detailing major skips you can do with teleport mode and also common pitfalls. Uh, Teleport mode is a category which uses extended variance mode to set dash speed to 100 times. It also sets this variable. I'll explain what that is later. So this isn't actually a super hard to execute or anything. I would recommend this to anyone who has 100% Celeste and has access to extended variance mode. Very, there's like two particularly difficult rooms, but you can do this without anything super precise. It isn't super hard or anything. So first off, I'm just gonna be explaining how teleport mode works. So 100 times dash speed, so a dash forward is just gonna move me over there. So this dash isn't going to interact with anything in the way. So, I So if I go to Demo Dash Room, you can see I can just dash directly through these. I don't interact with anything in the path of a dash. There is an exception, I'll bring that up later. So right, left, up, down dashes, those all work about how you expect. Diagonal dashes might not. So it's easier to think of, like, instead of upright dashes, up left dashes, think of them as right up dashes, left up dashes, because all of Madeline's movement is done with first her horizontal movement, then her diagonal movement. So you can see if I do an up diagonal dash right here, I'm first going to up left dash. I'm first going to move left into the wall I'm grabbing. And then I'm going to move left. And then I'm going to move up, left and then up. So if I do an up left dash, I'm actually going to die to the spikes at the top of the screen. And I'll pause buffer a down diagonal dash right here. So you can see that a down diagonal dash, one frame of down diagonal dash actually puts me right there. And then the next frame, I'm going to move all the way there. And I can reverse hyper out of that because coyote time is funny. So now I'm going to turn on some task tool stuff to see this next thing. Spinner hitboxes. So spinners are the crystal spikes in a bunch of chapters and these dust bunnies. Their hitboxes don't load until you are both close to them and they are on screen. So I'm not particularly close to the group of spinners at the top center of the screen. So when I do an up diagonal dash now, Madeline's going to move left into the wall and then up into the spinners. So I'll pause buffer that, and you can see that I don't actually die this frame. And that actually gets me all the way to the next room. So, yeah. Most of the complex stuff in this I'll be explaining if it's specifically required, but this one comes off so often that just keep in mind, if you die to off-screen spinners, you might be able to do something to get out of those spinners before they kill you. What else do I want to discuss? Okay, so I was doing this in Ridge, and I'm gonna turn extended variance off for this example because it's easier to see without them on. So if I dash into this corner, Madeline's hitting the corner, but she's preserving all her speed, and I'll do it here. If I dash from the top of this corner, messed that up. She preserves all the speed, but if I dash from lower down, she doesn't. She still moves forward. That's just because of how the dash ends. But the same thing happens in teleport mode. It's also, that's why corner boosts work. So if you do an up diagonal dash and you're no longer touching a wall, you'll keep the ridiculously far forward speed. However, that does not apply to upward momentum. I'll show that here. If I do up right dash, up left dash here, I keep the upward speed. But if I do one here against this upward corner, I'm going to bonk into the corner and keep the upwards and lose all of the upward speed. So that also applies to teleport mode. Pretty much you're always going to hit a ceiling after one frame of upward movement just because you travel such far distances in this. So on most dashes, you're only ever going to get one frame of vertical movement. There is a way to avoid this, which I alluded to earlier. I don't think it's ever required. If it is, I'll point it out. But this variant actually kind of messes up how supers and hypers work. So I'm going to do a buffered super here. And you're going to see it did some really weird things. So the legacy mode option is an old implementation of how it works, but actually just messed up how supers and hypers work. So going back to the first room here, if I jump here, you can see I preserve my horizontal speed, even though I did jump into the corner. And that's because the first few frames of your jump, there's actually a check that specifically prevents you losing your speed, and that also happens with the ridiculously fast hyperspeed. You can preserve that upward movement. And just keep that in mind. Hypers are slightly different movement than up diagonal dashes. What else do I want to mention? I think that's it for pretty much all of the basic movement. Now, there is one other major form of movement, which is corner clipping. So, you might think, oh, you can only do a wall bounce at the top of this wall because you teleport to the top, but you can actually do a wall bounce off the corner, and I'll do this with pause buffering. So, and golden, I guess. This is kind of awkward to pause buffer. Okay, so first frame of movement of a dash, I'm touching this corner. And since it takes a frame to get by this corner, I'm actually touching the corner of this frame, and I missed the buffered input. And I can wall bounce that frame. And the same applies to supers and demo hypers. And I will be specifically pointing out when that matters. A couple other minor mechanics. Theo? You can't dash while carrying Theo, obviously. But you can preserve speed of him if you clip a corner while picking him up, or what's far more useful is that you can throw him into a transition and then pick him up by dashing into the transition, and that can preserve your speed. And I didn't actually want to hit the... Battling gets really messed up by this. So, you can't dash past the edges of a screen. Like, you can't dash past the camera when battling is on screen. And that makes the entire battle and fight really hard, and I'll actually be doing the entire battle and fight because it's the hardest part of this run. Similarly, that happens with battling orbs. You can't dash past the camera on these screens either. So a couple of these screens are actually particularly difficult, and I'll be mentioning those. I think that's it for mechanics. Again, if anything is like specifically required or like oddly specific, I will be mentioning it in that specific room. So I guess let's start covering hard rooms, important tricks. There are only 2 or 3 rooms in this that I don't think someone might be able to figure out on their own, so what I would recommend is giving this a shot on your own. I think this makes an excellent puzzle. And just reference this video if you get stuck. If there's something in this video that trips you up, if there's something that trips you up that I don't cover, I'll link a PB. I know it's hard to learn strats from a speedrun, especially one that doesn't have an input display. I hope to beat my PB with a run that does have an input display, so if you're watching this in the future, ignore all of this. But the one really, really important thing for you to know is to do 5A and 6B. 5B, as of me speaking this, has only been done by a task. 6A, I have done. It required a lot of pause buffering, and I don't recommend it. So let's get started. City, I really don't have anything to cover in City. It's easy. Site, there is one room that can trip you up in Site, and there's also one major skip in Site, and they're the same room. Up dash there, Death Warp, and that's the only way to get through this room. And then the Dream Blocks aren't activated yet, so by returning to map and then reloading Intervention, you can start the Dream Blocks. And that's really it for Site, although I do want to just mention this Awake strategy, because I love it. You jump over to this, do a hyper, down dash, hyper. Resort doesn't really have anything that would trip you up, but it does have a few skips. So you can skip most of the keys. So get the key and then dash around there. And that's huge mess skip. You have an extra key now. But you can actually you can actually save one more key than that. By just standing here and doing a dash, you skip another key. Ridge doesn't really have anything that could trip you up. Temple, again, do Temple A, has one particularly bad room. You can just do that and skip a key. So first of all, I do think this room is probably my single favorite room from, I think this makes an excellent puzzle, but the solution to it is that you want to dash down and then dash up in the bubble, dash up diagonal, and that will land you on this block. Alternate way, which is pretty precise, is you can do an up diag here. Don't recommend this. That's really it for Temple. 6A, do 6B. 6B is where this run actually starts. 6B is where boys become women. I thought of that joke in my head while writing it, and I did not do it justice on the delivery. I thought of that joke like 2 days ago. I'm disappointed because that was funnier than I made it sound. First room that could really trip you up is this one. The casual strat actually pretty much works in this room. And there are a bunch of ways of getting through this, and I messed that up. But yeah, you can basically just do a slight modification of a casual strat. What trips you up is that there really isn't much in the way of skips you can do here. Next tricky room is here. Easier strat, shoutouts to Kataiser for this one, is to buffer a jump on top of a water, and then demo around the peak of your jump. And that should land you on spinners in the next room, but you can jump out of them before they really load. So like that. And then you can just dash to the end of the room. Alternative strat, which is what I used to do, is not that. Is you can do a reverse hyper off of that and hit the spinner. So now I'm just gonna run through all of Battlein. I should mention there is a funny pause buffer strat you can do here, which I have been messing up. To skip that room. If you don't want to do that, which I don't think most people will, here's how you do Theo. Dash up into that gap. This dash at the start into him is spike cycle dependent into her. And then you want to dash around there, do an up diagonal, and then dash back into the feather. And then up diag to beat the screen. This is the first screen that you... This is a screen... This is the third hardest screen to figure out in this, I'd say. There are a bunch of ways to do this, and the way I do it is almost certainly not the optimal way, but the important thing is that you need to make sure that you have all the coins before you hit Battlein right here. And then you can go over here and up diag to the end of the room. Shoutouts to MathHacker for this run. That used to be the hardest room in the run, and then some. It's not bad now. Easy screen. That works, I guess. If you want to be cool, there's an entry strat you can do here. If you don't want to be cool, or you miss it, you can not do that. You can do basically the same strat, except you use a respawn here for the extra dash instead of entering the screen. Easiest way to hit Battlein here is to do a hyper out of Coyote time, because hypers work like that. Okay, here is the other hard room, and I'll do what I do with a center camera on the task tools to show you what's actually happening. The issue with this is that it involves off-screen movement. So I use the music as a cue for this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Press left on, press right on 1, dash up on 3. So 1, 2, 3. So from here, go to the top of a wall, jump, and then wall jump twice, and I think I ran out of stamina. So now I'm at the top of the screen. So walk left until you hit the screen, and then do the same count of 3 dash. 1, 2, 3. And from there, it's easy. Okay, 2 ways of doing this screen. Both are like really weird cycle-wise, so you'll have to find some way that works for you. The way I do it requires some pretty good feather movement. You don't have to buffer this bunny hop, but I do. It requires you to hit that feather. And then after that, the room's pretty easy. You just have to do a dash right there. If you don't have if you're terrible at feather movement, you can do Math Clip, Heart Eyes emoji, found by MathHacker, and it is the only clip named Math Clip in any game that I am aware of. So you can just fall into this fall into the feather, and dash up around there, and we'll put you in the cabin. Okay. Yeah, so that's the hard chapter. 7A is a lot easier. So, this room requires one of these. That's the only way to get through the room. This room is pretty tricky. I'll just show my cycle for it. You might be able to figure out your own. And I messed it up. And you can see at the end there, I'm intentionally using the top of the screen to help line that up. Here, this isn't what I wanted, but you can just skip that room. I don't think this room is particularly hard, but I figure it might trip people up, so just go here, dash to move a platform, and then do 2 up dashes. Also, if anyone has any clue why that happens, please let me know, because it loses time. And it's really weird. Upwind is funny. You just do an up left dash, then an up right dash, then an up dash, then an up left dash, then a right dash. And I messed that up. Up left, up right, up left, right, and you end up on that wall. And then another up left, right, but don't buffer the right dash on that one. I love 3K in this, it's hilarious. Here's the only skip. Well, okay, Core has 2 skips. They're both really easy. The first is you just do a dash there and that skips the trigger. The second is you just do a dash there and Death Warp, and that skips the Heart Gate. Farewell. If you don't know how to do this skip, Amber has an excellent video on it, but the basic idea of it is pause buffer a 1 frame talk input and then jump the next frame. And then note when the text box appears, so that was like 17.5 seconds, and then wait 11.5 seconds. So 29 is when I'll skip cutscene. And there's normally some hard movement after that, but this is teleport mode. You don't have to do it. You don't have to do the skip for this category. It's much, much easier than... there's one specific room that is incredibly difficult if you don't have 2 dashes for it, and it just makes a few other rooms much easier to have it. Okay, so here's how you do power source in this. You don't do that for one thing. Nice. What? I've never seen that happen before. So, what actually happened, you can get to this, you don't have to do that start, you can get to the hub pretty easily. So, you have 2 options. One is, the more interesting one is dash up here and then do this hyper. This may take, I'll try and do it unbuffered, this may take a few tries. This is frame perfect, and I got it. Fair. So, you want to let go of jump on that frame and then corner boost. Alternatively, you can do this pretty much as intended. Hit the power box and then... This is going wonderfully. Hit the power box, and then you'll want to get 2 keys. There are I think there are 3 keys that are fairly easy. You want to get 2 keys because you want to unlock the top one, but when you try and unlock the top one, you're gonna mess up and unlock the bottom one without meaning to. It is possible to unlock the top one without the bottom one, but it's not easy. And then you can just dash up to remembered. From this screen, this is, I mean this screen. This is the hardest screen in the game, by far. So, first off, you want to figure out how to hit the top one. You want to just do a dash up and then fall into it. Make sure you have that down because it's going to take you a few tries to hit the bottom one, and here's what I do. I'm watching the, and I messed up. Climb to the top of this wall, and then I'm watching the bottom puffer fish. So the frame it moves down is the first frame this will work on. The next frame I want to let go of grab, then hold left. The frame after that I want to hold jump. I don't actually want to jump off the wall, I just want to hold jump and left. And then hold left. So there is a way to do that without a pause buffer. It's not easier, but it is possible if you don't really know how to pause buffer. And you want to be holding jump for the entirety of this. So dash up into this corner, and then you want to line up on this pixel. I really hope I'm remembering right, and that's it. And then when the puffer is furthest right, you can fall into it. And it also has to be on a cycle where it'll be pretty low. That was too late. Too early, I think. That might, yeah. Nice. Don't really recommend that. This room. Funny interaction. You can upright and hit these. This room, right and then up dash. This room, there are a variety of ways to do this room, and you might find your own, but the easiest is to do an up diag and then jump off the wall. Like that. And, you don't have to do that ending, it's just what I know. Easiest way to do this room is to jump off of that, and then jump off of that corner. Easiest... That's not comb room. Easiest way to do comb room is to wall jump off of those. Easiest way to do this is to do a reverse super there. I don't really need to cover this room. This room used to be hard before. When we only had one dash there. Okay, this room actually is a little tricky. I know there are multiple ways of doing this one. Here's my way. You can also do that. That weird way of hitting a Kevin can actually get you through the room with not very good feather movement. My way requires you to both hit the Kevin and hit that crystal, which can be a little tight. There are two ways of doing this. The funny way is to mess up. Funny way is to do this. It's not consistent. if you haven't noticed by me messing it up twice. That's the funny way of doing this screen. The practical way of doing the screen is to dash up right here and then hold left. And not die at the end. Stubbornness is pretty easy. There is a required death warp in this screen, which I promptly messed up. This is going great. This tutorial worked out perfectly. There we go. Then this room is a little easier if you dash on entry. You don't need to though, but you need to jump off the back of that block. Shoutouts to 9D. Recon is also pretty easy. Only... Man, Recon's so long. Okay, last room. So, here's the funny way of doing last room. You can buffer it if you just dash from the start, that'll hit a pufferfish. And then if you buffer another dash out of a pufferfish, it'll hit the power box. So the slow way and less interesting way of beating the room from here is to wait about an hour for that bird to show up, and then you do an updash around the last feather, and I missed it because I don't remember the timing because I don't do this strat because it's slow. Because you have to wait an hour for the bird to show up. When's the timing? It's right above the feather. The funny way, which is faster, is to delete the state. Is to get the moonberry. Yeah, that's it. Hopefully I didn't miss anything. If you decide to try a run of this, feel free to like ping me on Discord or something. I love watching people do this. Hopefully we can like, hopefully a couple more people will be inspired to run this. Maybe get it on category extensions someday, I can dream. Have fun.